All right, let's welcome into the show Geoff Schwartz, former NFL player, former Oregon Duck. He's looks like he's about to hit the golf course after we talk. Geoff, how's life down there in North Carolina?
It's good. It's getting warm. I wish I was on the golf course, J-Mac, but not today. I'm playing Wednesday. I play like 10 times a year. It's not like a big deal for me. I know people love it, but like I just get outside for a couple hours every day, every week, once a week. It's good for me.
Yeah. I'm more of a top golf guy than I am a golf course guy. I don't have 4 hours. What can I say? All right, Geoff, a lot of news happening in the NFL. I want to start with the big one. Over the weekend, Deion Sanders did a podcast where he kind of did what we expected him to do, chime in on Shedeur. Here's the video. We'll play it real quick. Deion Sanders talking about his son's slide in the draft. Now, you don't want to go over the top, Geoff, but I know you have kids. I got kids.
Yeah.
And we talk all the time. Hey, you can only take them so far. You teach them the ways, and then they're on their own. Shedeur's 23 now. I think Deion saying this stuff is exactly what Kevin Stefanski and coaches around the league didn't want. They didn't need this noise. Now Stefanski's going to go to OTAs this week. The first question is going to be, hey, Deion said this. And it's just like a headache we don't need. Am I overreacting, or do you kind of see the same thing?
I don't think you're overreacting, but I understand defending your son. I think this is one of the only times he's done this, right, publicly since then. I know there's been quotes maybe attributed to him, but I get defending your son. The question whether is whether this is going to continue, right? Like we'll continue into the season where every time someone plays poorly, let's say Flacco is playing poorly, that we get a comment from Deion about his son possibly playing. I think in one instance, it's okay to defend him, especially if you feel like you've been wronged. But now moving forward, yes, you're right. You should let Shedeur stand on his own and not really involve yourself in what's happening with him on a daily basis. Now, is this what people were worried about? I think so, right? I think this is part of the whole package of why Shedeur didn't get drafted. I don't think NFL teams are making this up either. Maybe we're being loose with the term meeting. Like if you're meeting at the combine in a general setting, not really a personalized meeting, players might have headphones on as they go to the meeting room. They probably take them off, but it sort of depends, I think, on what you think a meeting is. But I don't think teams are lying about this. So I do think this all plays a role in why he didn't get drafted as high as he did. So I understand Deion defending his son, totally get it, especially if he feels he's wrong. But now I think you said your piece. It's over with now. He's with the Browns. He's in OTAs. Let him do his own thing now. And you worry about coaching Colorado.
I compared it to Arch Manning at Texas. He couldn't win the starting job over Quinn Ewers, even though a lot of people wanted him, a lot of Texas fans. And then Quinn Ewers stinks against Georgia and stuff. We didn't hear the Manning family come out and say, hey, you got to bench Ewers. My son's got to get it. We didn't hear any of that. And I just wonder, do you think, is there a way someone can tell Deion, I'm asking you nicely, please just don't say anything. Just say you're rooting for the Browns and your son, and nip it there?
I mean, can you tell him? Sure. I don't know if he's going to do that, right? I mean, it's just who Deion has been, right? Is he just shares what he feels. We see it on social media. We see it on any of the different platforms where Colorado is featured. He is, and I think that's a characteristic that people like about Deion. Doesn't shy away from talking about things and sharing his feelings. But in this instance, you're right. I think now is the time. You've said it. You disagree with how your son was covered. You disagree with how he was drafted. You've done your piece now. You've said it. You got off your chest. And now I think it's a separation. I do think the term distraction we talk a lot about in sports, this is one of them. You mentioned the exact thing, right? Where the next time Stefanski's interviewed, he's going to have to talk about what a father, it was a famous father of one of his 4 quarterbacks, said about how his son was handled during the draft process. So you don't want those questions to come up, even though they obviously are going to come up. But again, I think if J-Mac, after this week, this is it, right? This is it. This is the last we hear about Deion and Shedeur, really Deion talking about Shedeur, unless it's a positive thing, obviously. I think the Browns are going to be okay with it if it sort of ends this week.
That would be great. I'm dubious that it ends this week. Let's go to another one. Big news that just happened here in the last 2 hours. Frank Ragnow, the all-pro center from the Detroit Lions, up and retired at 29 years old. Now, listen, this is not going to be big headline news everywhere, but as a former offensive lineman, this is massive. This is huge. We've been saying for the last 2 years, the Lions have the best offensive line in the league. And now you lose your center. He graded out as the second best center, according to Pro Football Focus. This is a massive deal for the Lions, no?
It's a big loss. When you look at sort of like the splits when he's on and off the field, because he has had injuries over his career. The Lions, no surprise, so much better when he's on the field. That position, that center position, you often see it, J-Mac, where you get a center and he's just your guy forever. Like they're so hard to find of this caliber. Jason Kelce, obviously, for so many years. Creed Humphrey's going nowhere. When you look at all the centers who eventually make it to the NFL Hall of Fame, it's like they played their career for 15, 17 years on one team. And the connection that you have with your quarterback, with your offensive line is hugely important. Now, the Lions, whether or not they knew this was going to be the case, I'm sure they had an inkling. They drafted centers and guards like in the draft, and Glasnow's still there to move over. But this is how quickly things change, right? Where you have a solid offensive line for a couple of years, and all of a sudden you don't have the same solid offensive line. There's change there with the offensive coordinator. So I would imagine the Lions had an idea of what was going to happen. But if you put Rowledge in there to start at center from Georgia, and you have a young left guard, you have a young center. If someone beats out Glasnow, you have a young right guard. And it's a league, right? Things change out, but it's a loss for them. You don't find centers growing on trees, man. It's why there's a limited few that are elite, and they typically stay with their team forever. So I wish them the best. I will say this, as far as retiring early, or we consider early, I like his mindset. I think it's what athletes should do. I didn't do this. I didn't retire when I should have. Try to stick on a little bit longer. So I really do appreciate the players who just know when it's time. And you read Instagram posts like, look, my body it's giving me all I can take. I've used the best of my ability. It's time to retire. I appreciate having that clarity in someone's career.
I would largely agree with that. But when you combine it with the new offensive coordinator, this could be a tough one for Jared Goff. I will say they did draft a guy out of Georgia, Tate Ratledge.
Jeff,
Ratledge. I looked this up. A 3-year starter at right guard, never took one snap at center. However, he has been taking center snaps here with the Lions so far. So I guess a transition could be possible, but a rookie starting center? Oh, man.
It's probably not great because he didn't play center in college, even though he did project out to play like that. Yeah. That is, one of his, when you're looking at drafts. So it's certainly, it can come together quickly, I think. But yeah, it's a question mark now where you do sort of worry about how quickly this can start, fast for the Lions this season.
And some people will be like, guys, you're overrating a center. Jeff and I do gambling stuff all the time.
Yeah.
This is significant. Now, Jeff, I'm on record saying I think the Lions pull back significantly. I don't do a ton of over-under betting just because I don't want to tie up my money that long. But I'm looking at the Lions pulling back, like maybe missing the playoffs. A lot of outdoor games. Look at their first 7 games, bro. That is brutal with a rookie center. There's a world where, hey, man, you go to Baltimore, you're going to be dogs in that one. That Cincinnati defense is a joke, but you got to face Joe Burrow. Then you got the Chiefs. I don't like this Lions outlook this year. Yeah. Just the lack of continuity at center, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Your thoughts on the Lions?
Well, you have to think to get some positive regression with injuries on defense, right? So the defense should be better than it was last year just because of that alone. But you're right. The new coordinators do worry. I mean, because it takes